Hello world. Frida Reba Darcy and Patricia O'Connor. It is a very warm, like 60s, 60 something spring feeling day here at February, end of February. On the balcony, it's starting to cloud up a little, but we've had a mostly sunny day today. It was a little airish this morning, but it just warmed right up, and it's pretty nice out. I'm watching everything just kind of start busting out a little bit, and we like it. We like it. I don't think we have a snap coming our way that should bring this to a halt. And finally, my cork bark oak is starting to break out with the new growth. That's good to see. It was kind of bringing up the rear, as is a couple of my other trees, but they are all looking like they're awake, like they're waking up. Anyway, this is just a little quick look outside on the balcony at how everything's looking, and that is a look at the little show hen size Japanese black pine that I potted up last night. You know, what is the point in that? Whereas this tree, for instance, when I got it, we repotted it. We bent the trunk up to put motion in it. And then we put the pot on top of another pot. So do we have we don't have any branches. What we do have is foliage and roots and trunk. So what we've done is, this is us working on our roots, and this is us working on our roots, and this is us working on our roots, and this is all the motion that we put in our trunk while we wait for branches. Times most of the rest of these. I say most of the rest of these because a couple of them are a little bit more specific than that. And by that I mean, do I really think this is a finished tree shape? You know, that I'm just going to do this and then in a year remove that wire, and then 10 years from now it gets bark, and then that's basically going. No. What I think will happen is some of that movement and shape will cause this tree to really, really fatten up. And at some point I'll make a decision as to whether or not, you know, what size tree this is going to be. And in the meantime, I may chop it there and pick up one of a bud down there, or I may pick a place where all of this motion is going and clip it there, having used this to help the base establish girth. Same with that. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the final shape of the tree with that plume sticking up. It might be that a couple of years from now, when all of that's gotten really fat, I clip it there and we pick up a bud that was along the way. So none of these guys are necessarily in a finished position. They should I should be starting to put more of them in a position to work on their roots, like I am this one, and like I have that one, and a couple more, but I still need to do that somewhat. I would say that this tree is in a position that I would like to keep it in. I would like to, it can fatten up as much as it wants, but I would like to keep this guy show hen to mame size. And all of these other guys should get fatter, should get thicker, you know, kind of like what we did with Frankenpine here. We didn't start off with a tree that was nearly a foot tall when we started folding all of that up, right? So we may cut those back in a year or two to something that looks more like this. Haven't already gotten that movement established. The exception to that is that guy. Now, originally, For instance, this was a show hen literati, and it outgrew its dimensions because I didn't know how to keep it show hen. Also, it was a twin trunk, and as it grew longer here, the part where the two trunks forked off got higher and higher up, and there was less and less that could be done with it. So I decided to make it a show hen formal upright, and now we're trying to retrain it for that. And by that, I am also going to feed this slightly less than I will the others, but it can get fat because it's no longer going to be a literati. Like this tree is a literati, and like that tree is a literati. Their deal is slightly different. We do not want them to thicken up in the same way that we would like the other trees to thicken up. It's not kind of what you do with literati. You kind of want to keep those guys. You want to keep those guys lean, thin, slender, and lean. It's almost like that tree that is barely alive, sticking out of an outcrop, and maybe is twisted and sunbent and stuff. And that's kind of like I always thought that was a little bit of the motivation behind literati. It's a whimsical art form made by something that is usually slender and doesn't have a lot of girth to it. So what that means is you can establish these trees early in their shape before they have gotten enormously fat. But it's almost like trying to be a supermodel of old. You're always trying to keep yourself down, and you're fighting weight down to some unrealistic sometimes ideas. So that's kind of, if this guy were to like triple its thickness, it would be out of shape for a literati tree, and then I would have to have some sort of styling change that that would be really interesting. Just try to take something from a literati and say, well, this no longer works for me. It's like 12 pounds overweight, or it's 2 inches too thick from top to bottom to keep those nice dimensions. And what would you do about that? Well, I mean, it would depend on looking at the tree. But so the whole thing about those guys is to try to keep them a little thinner. So this tree's deal, the one in the back that I'm showing you now, its deal is a little different. It's in a bonsai pot now because I bought a bonsai pot that I thought that the roots that it had currently grown would still be able to fit into. And we would rather that tree not grow outside of those roots, just like we would prefer this guy to not grow outside of its roots. We would like this guy to kind of grow up being that size. And whereas I can clip the end of the buds to try to maintain the length that way, only by trying to be mindful of my feeding and mindful of how much room I'm giving the roots, will I be able to maintain this shape without it growing up to be a 2-foot tall tree trying to maintain itself in that tiny little pot. So that's its deal is a little different than these guys. And this guy should be getting that root treatment too, but it's so small, it already is just being in that. But when it expands enough, I'll probably stick that on top of a colander or something. The same with that guy, and the same with that guy in the back. Some of these others, yeah, I need to be working more on getting those little root balls up in the air so that we can, like that. That's going to be some great root work at some point when that little plug there dissolves away. It will expose all those roots a little at a time, and they will have fattened up on their own, and probably, will hopefully be all sustainable. And it might be that I will be able to do some of my twisty work to those roots to try to mimic some of the bends we see in the literati. I think that would be That would be a nice touch. And to that end, I would probably go with the right pot if I could get it right now for, yeah, if I found the right cascade pot for that little cascade pot, pine in the back, I would like for it to stay, I would like for it to stay a miniature tree. And if it just fattens up from all of those twists and curls, that would be fine by me. It can get a little longer, and we would just continue to curl that guy up as it's doing so. But that would be another one that I don't really think I would be jumping the gun too much if I were to put that in a good cascade pot now, because the roots are still manageable and maintainable. But at the same time, I could be working with that root plug on that one too. And that's kind of the idea behind putting it in that tiered cup. There's substrate in the cup that it's sitting on top of. And at some point, that could be the roots. The ones in the bottom cup could be the ones that stay in substrate, and the ones that grow in the top cup could be managed and pruned and groomed and all that stuff and be exposed. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at there. But that was, if you were kind of wondering what I was doing with some of these trees, making them look like little trees already, like my little one-handed guys here. I really like the little bean trees that we started, and I'm looking forward to letting those guys, seeing how long we can let those guys stay out in their tiny little pots. They're all putting up their little candles and getting ready to show us that they're increasing, that they're looking to increase their needle mass somewhat. And it might be a good time. It might be a good time to remove the wire from this guy today. Yeah, I don't know. It's still easily grabbable there. It is starting to, we can still get that out fairly easy. I'm not going to mess with it. But yeah, cool little tree. And yeah, see, so that is something that I feel really good about. For instance, this little guy. And, you know, to me, that's ready-made bonsai. It started by Eric Schrader. And this one, which was ordered by me out of 9 trees that came out of Florida, and I threw the wire and put this in a little wabi-sabi pot. So yeah, I'm kind of happy with that little literati bend tree too. Whatever it does from there, if it gets as fat as a pencil, that would be really, really interesting. And I would love to see this little pot just completely fill up with the root mass that would allow it to do that. But, you know, from this point on, it's already doing pretty much what I want it to do. I'm going to watch that candle coming out of the top and let it produce. I probably won't nick that candle this year. But I'll probably let that guy maintain, and then let all of those needles produce all the roots and stuff, and just, you know, I don't want to take any more energy from it. Some of them I will, some of them I won't. Okay, that's a little look-see at what we have going on, and everybody is in right now. I've got, I would say most of these trees are just kind of hanging out in what I would say is recovery mode from the stuff that we did this fall and winter. But I feel really good about all of it. Man, I gotta say, I'm really excited about what we did to Haas Pondo. I love the movement I put in it. I like the pot that I selected for it. I did feel like it was underpotted somewhat, and also the fact that I lost the Ponderosa. that I really love. Makes me feel good about another ponderosa that I really love thriving. It's, you know, that kind of tells me that whatever it was that got the other one, it wasn't just me, because you know, Hoss seems to like it here just fine. And that's one of my favorite trees right there. The other pines, they're looking good. This guy is 75 years old. It is a Japanese black pine. It is a cork bark black pine. When it comes time to do the candles on it, at some point, I don't know that I'm going to do them this year, but when it comes time to do that again, I would like to see if I can make those into cuttings and maybe attach those to some rootstock or something. That would be nice if that worked. And this is our 17-year from seed Japanese black pine. It is also a pretty happy tree. I'm really enjoying it. I've enjoyed learning more about it this year, and I'll look forward to more of the stuff that I get to do to make it, to keep just moving it along. So yeah, that's kind of a little look. I guess it was kind of, for the most part, it was Pine Day. There's some cypress buds popping out on all of our trees. This one's a little behind these other two, but I think that's what it did last year too. But it's still starting to, it's now starting to show full green, and it's budding out just like this guy's been doing for a week now. Anyway, that's pretty much our look at our pines, and we're going to do more pine work. I'll probably order another 10 pines or so here in the next month or so, or just later, maybe a little bit later in spring. We have plenty of room for them. And so if you like pines, I like pines. We're just going to be doing more of these, and I'm still waiting for our wisteria to bloom, but it's just now starting to open up. And as I recall, this thing is very, very fragrant. So I'll share that when there's more to share. Like and subscribe if you have not already. That helps us get traction, and you will be able to see whenever we do more work. It'll be time to start showing off these cypress trees. Oh, I would say this time next month. They should have quite a bit to show us by then. And I hope you have a really good weekend. Thank you so much for watching.